What's happening right now where people don't go to jail for the crimes they commit because of their power, their wealth, or whomever they are, because the system is broken?
They had me indicted many times. It bothers me that somebody's going after Bill Clinton. See, I like Bill Clinton.
There's a lot to unpack here, so let's slow this down and deal with the facts, not the performance. First, Donald Trump is claiming that he has already handled what's happening to Bill and Hillary Clinton. That is simply not true. What Trump is doing is deliberately blurring the line between two completely different things. He's trying to equate congressional subpoenas with his own criminal prosecutions following the 2020 election. Those are not the same. Not legally, not procedurally, not morally. Let's be clear about what actually happened. Trump wasn't prosecuted because Congress didn't like him. He wasn't indicted because Democrats woke up one morning and decided to punish a political opponent. The cases against him were brought either by a special counsel, Jack Smith, specifically appointed because the Attorney General wanted to avoid even the appearance of bias, or by state and local prosecutors operating independently. And every indictment Trump faced was handed down by grand juries. Ordinary citizens, his peers, not Joe Biden, not Adam Schiff, not Nancy Pelosi. Yet Trump keeps repeating this fantasy that some shadowy group of Democrats personally orchestrated his legal troubles. That's false. What actually happened is the legal system did what it's designed to do. Prosecutors gathered evidence, juries reviewed it, and charges were brought based on documented conduct. Trump was indicted because he tried to overturn a free and fair election, because he attempted to block the certification of Congress, because he took classified documents from the White House and refused to return them, because he committed campaign finance violations. Those aren't opinions. Those are allegations backed by evidence and reviewed by juries. So when Trump portrays himself as some helpless victim curled up in the fetal position, persecuted by a corrupt system, the reality is the opposite. He's not an example of an innocent man trapped by injustice. He's an example of a guilty man who has repeatedly avoided consequences. And that brings us to Bill and Hillary Clinton.
President Trump's name is mentioned more than 1,000 times in these documents. Why not try to get more information from him, try to get him to testify?
Yeah. I've noticed that every time you all do a gaggle like this with President Trump, somebody asks him about Epstein. So he's been answering questions about Epstein.
Not under oath.
But, well, has Bill Clinton ever answered any questions on Epstein or Hillary Clinton? So this is going to be a new opportunity, and we'll go from there.
What they are facing right now is not prosecution. They are being compelled to testify before Congress regarding their connections to Jeffrey Epstein. And yes, they should testify. I support that fully. In fact, I think everyone should support it for two very important reasons. First, anyone, regardless of party affiliation, who engaged in criminal activity connected to Epstein should be held accountable. I don't care if you're a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, or a former president. If you did something wrong, there should be zero tolerance. If that includes Bill Clinton, then so be it.
Well, for people who say that I'm not okay, no, I'm not okay. I'm not okay with Epstein co-conspirators walking free. I'm not okay with pedophiles in South Carolina getting 1 day in jail under the leadership of our Attorney General. I'm not okay with murderers walking free. I'm not okay with the death or execution of young women like Logan Federico by a guy that had over 20 felonies under his belt. What's happening right now where people don't go to jail for the crimes they commit because of their power, their wealth, or whomever they are, because the system is broken, none of us should be okay with that. And if I'm going to be attacked for standing up for those that don't have a voice, who can't stand on their own, then I'm going to be okay with that. And I say, bring it on to the mainstream media. If they can't break me, they're just going to make it up. And I'm here for it. And nothing's going to stop me from being governor of South Carolina.
We are not a cult. We don't protect people just because they wear the right political jersey. But the second reason matters just as much. This sets a precedent. Republicans are now openly endorsing the idea that former presidents and their families can be subpoenaed, compelled to testify under oath, and held legally responsible for what they say.
Congresswoman, last question. Do you think that President Trump should answer more questions about the Epstein files?
Well, I believe he already has. I mean, he went to the authorities. He's the one that banned Jeffrey Epstein from Mar-a-Lago. He's been very open and very transparent. And I hope that he will support the efforts of the House Oversight Committee to get to the bottom of this. And I want to see people named. I want predators named. I want them investigated, and I want them to go to jail.
That door is now open. And considering Donald Trump's name appears repeatedly in the Epstein files, that precedent doesn't stop with the Clintons. If the standard is that proximity to Epstein warrants congressional scrutiny, then that standard applies to everyone, including Trump. And that's where things start to get uncomfortable for Republicans. We're already seeing it. When Democrats point out that this same logic could be used to subpoena Trump in the future, Republicans suddenly start squirming. They deflect, they hedge, they change the subject. But the record is clear. They're on board with the principle now. And principles have consequences. Democratic lawmakers are already saying this out loud. Representative Jared Moskowitz has made it clear that once Democrats regain control of the House, this precedent won't be forgotten. Oversight, banking, judiciary, everything will be on the table. Trump's business dealings, his crypto ventures, foreign investments, Middle East connections, that Qatari plane, all of it. This isn't revenge, it's reciprocity. Jamie Raskin has echoed the same warning. Past presidents are no longer off limits, and if a former president refuses to cooperate in good faith, the consequences will be far more serious under the very standard Republicans are now embracing. Even James Comer, the man driving these subpoenas, admitted that yes, this could come back to haunt Trump. And that's the point. Democrats didn't start this escalation, but they would be foolish not to finish it. If Congress is going to hold powerful ex-presidents in front of cameras and demand answers, then the rules must apply equally. Call the Clintons, ask them everything, hold them accountable if wrongdoing is proven. Then apply that exact same standard to Donald Trump. No exceptions, no special treatment. Trump knows this. That's why you're already seeing him backpedal, suddenly suggesting that maybe Bill Clinton shouldn't testify after all. It's not fairness he's worried about. It's fear. Because he understands that one day he could be in that chair, a former president with documented ties to Epstein, forced to answer questions under oath. And here's the thing Trump really doesn't like to acknowledge. Lying to Congress is a crime. Defying a subpoena is a crime. And unless the next Attorney General decides to look the other way, Trump won't be able to tweet his way out of it, especially given his well-documented relationship with the truth. So let the Clintons testify. Let the facts come out. And then keep going. Because if accountability is the standard, it must apply to everyone. And if Trump wants to be consistent, he might want to start clearing his calendar for early 2029.